So I've got two ideas that can help out. I like that.
Let's go.
Welcome to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. I'm your host, Darrell Scott, and together we will dive into the lives and careers of the jazz legends who have left a rhythmic imprint on the world. Be prepared to reminisce on the highs and the lows of their musical journey and the trials that sculpted their timeless musical gems. We'll preserve the legacy of these extraordinary maestros and find inspiration in the melodies of their lives. Subscribe now and never miss a beat. Now, let's get to the show. Welcome to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. I am Darrell Scott. There are certain shows that I've come across and certain people that I've wanted to talk to for a myriad of different reasons. One of them, in this case, I want to say Happy Father's Day to the father of this duo, but his son is now going to be playing with him. They have a new project coming out soon. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Jazz Flyte Podcast, Nathan East and his son Noah. Gentlemen, how are you today?
Fantastic. Thank you. It's good to be here, and happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
Yes, happy Father's Day.
Thank you, sir. Both of you. No, I'm going to start with you because I realized before we started, we talked about the fact that I have followed your father's career for quite some time. So when you're a teenager, even before that, he's taking pictures with Stevie Wonder, Toto, Eric Clapton, a whole list of people. Did you think your dad was cool, or you think he's just got some really nice friends?
That's funny. As a kid, you're introduced to them first as just friends and people part of the family, extensions of the family. So you don't really know them as artists before you know them as people. So growing up, it'd be whether it was Stevie or people like you said, it was always, like a part of the family. But then once you grow up and realize what amazing careers and legacies these people have, then you really start to appreciate, who they are as an artist. And so just kind of growing and realizing all these things made it that much more special to be able to know them personally.
Cool. Nathan, in that same vein, are you holding back bringing people to meet the kids, or are you going, I want to show off and let my kids know that I am him? How did you treat that?
No, I mean, it's good to have friends like
Oh, you got friends.
Yeah. And so as friends, and Bob James is his godfather, Greg Fillinganes is his godfather, so he has, guys that can actually sit down and he's learned, from fingerings and songs, and then at the same time, it's just like, friends of friends, families, family. So you don't really think about, early on, we didn't put any like their pictures up on social media or anything like that, just kind of keeping it kind of private. But now, once they become a certain age and we just kind of join the fun of hey, here we are today, and for me, it's more of a documentation, because as I go back over some of the pictures, I look and see, where were we at 10 years old and at 15 years old? And it's just fun to document the journey.
So at what point, Noah, did you begin to say, I want to play an instrument, and maybe not the bass, or maybe you're going to go through different ones? When did you decide that you wanted to be a musician?
That decision came at a pretty young age. That piano behind us right now has been there my whole life. And so just being able to play that when I was crawling, that one. And growing up, of course, hearing all the wonderful music that my dad has been playing, it was kind of a no-brainer to follow his footsteps. And it's funny, at one point I did pick up the bass, but I figured if he's playing bass, I should
What am
play
I,
something else.
yeah, what
We
am I
work
going to do?
together, keep him in his lane. But it's been great, a lifelong journey.
Good. So, Nathan, when you saw him take an interest in the piano, were you solely behind him, or did you go, I want you to play bass, or I want you to play saxophone, I want you to do this? How did you feel about him choosing the piano?
Well, great, because as a bass player, to have a pianist in the family, then what could be better, than that's hence, we're doing father-son duo project.
Is it, was there initial pressure, and this is for each of you, to say we're going to do something together, nor were you nervous that your dad is sitting, I don't know, 3, 4 feet from you, and Nathan, the same thing. All of a sudden, are you kind of double focusing on your ability to play, but also what Noah's doing?
Well, those two albums that I see over your shoulder,
Yes.
and one he was actually, it was actually 10 years ago. So as a 13-year-old, and our producer Chris Giro had the idea. He said, "Hey Noah, before we start this song, just say, 'Are you ready, Dad?'" And then my response would be, "Ready, son." So Noah's 13-year-old voice is, "Are you ready, Dad?" And it was one of the songs that he was working on in his studies with piano play, which is one of the institutions here in LA called Piano Play. I think it's just Piano Play, right?
Yeah.
And so he was studying there, and he brought home one of the arrangements of Yesterday, and I loved the arrangement, and I showed it to Chris, and Chris said, "Hey, let's pop this on the record," So it was kind of like he earned, it wasn't like just, "Hey, let's put him on there." Like he came and played it, and then we said, we both agreed this should go on the record. And then we did the follow-up record, and he was doing an arrangement of Over the Rainbow. And also we said, let's put it on the record. So both of those came, very organically and naturally. And then we've covered both of those songs and done new approaches to those songs, reimagine them for our new father-son record.
Nice. I I always wonder when it's a situation like this, whether it's an athlete or a musician, is there competition between the two of you? Do you try to outshine him? Does he try to outshine you? Or do you go, I'm the guy, you're over here, you stay in your lane, I'll stay in my lane?
Not from my end, no. Just the joy of having family right there to celebrate this gift together.
No, growing up, and all of a sudden you graduate from, I'm going to say, playing that piano behind you to going out on stage. Were you uncomfortable? I think it's great that you're playing at the house and in front of family, but all of a sudden you venture out, and now there's, I don't know, 5, 10, 20,000 people out there watching you. Does your mindset change? All of a sudden there's a bit more pressure. I'm so glad I played those 8 hours of rehearsal. What's that all about?
Yeah, of course, the energy changes when you're in front of people. You can feel that energy. But we've been playing right here in our living room for so many years, and all the years prior to really taking it out onto the stage, it built a lot of habits, and it became really like part of my nature. So taking it to the stage was really just like playing it in the living room, but just receiving that energy. So it felt great.
How do you think you gained your father's confidence? I mean, his confidence in you, and all of a sudden him wanting you to be on his recordings.
I think it's a blessing. I definitely just years of playing, of course, together in this room, and of course, building his trust and seeing how we complement each other as a duo, and everything just worked out. I think my career is continue, and I think he's been able to realize that, and it's been great to be able to complement each other as a duo and create music.
Now, Nathan, I'm gonna spend a little time with you. I, I've known you as a sideman, on different projects. I think of the video with Eric Clapton and you and or the total video and you're just playing your thing and you're doing your thing. Why do all these people, and when I say all, it's a huge number. Why are they calling you? And you can't tell me it's because you're bringing batteries to every rehearsal.
Well, they might like my jokes. I don't know. Hopefully it's my playing, and hopefully beyond that, the spirit of what I feel I bring. I mean, I'm a collaborator from way back, and I've always admired collaborations. And I look at, when I used to read the liner notes and look at producers like Quincy Jones, he's like the example of a major collaborator with all of these souls and spirits that he invites into the room to record with him. Whether it's, you look in a Michael Jackson session and you'll see all the heavyweights. I mean, it's like a who's who of the music scene. And David Foster, Greg Fillinganes, David Page, Jeff Porcaro. I mean, it's Steve Lukather. It's sort of just like all the top guys that you can think of to come in and collaborate with one vision of making a great song, a great record, And so it's an honor to be called, and even more of an honor to be called back. And sometimes I just have to, laugh. The phone will ring and I'll look up there and, hey, Ringo, what's going on?
Like I said, it's great to have the friends you have. So you venture out from being a sideman to doing these two projects, which I have behind me. What was the reasoning behind all of a sudden going, I'll call it solo?
Well, first of all, I was getting a lot of pressure from my members of Fourplay, who all were great solo artists, Lee Ritenour, Bob James, Harvey Mason. They, Nate, when are you going to do your album? And even Chuck Loeb actually sat me down. We were at Montreux Jazz Festival with Fourplay, and he actually sat me down. We were sitting in front of the lake, and he said, Nate, come on, right now. Okay, who's going to be on your record? What are the songs? I got a couple songs for you. Let's go. Let's turn this into a reality, And it's one of those things where in my heart, I had it all along, but then, being so busy and just like working around the clock and spending most of my, every year, collaborating and either writing or working with people, which was, I still had the greatest time. So it just was a matter of finding a slot for that. And Chuck Loeb really kind of, we put pen to paper, and he says, okay, what musicians, who would you want to have play drums on this, and so he really helped me get the party started.
Okay, we go from sideman to doing your solo stuff to Fourplay. We now have this project, and the first single is Yesterday. Nora, are you old enough to remember that song?
Well, of course, that's an old school classic. But of course, once I learned it in my piano class, and the arrangement I learned, it really had me hooked onto, of course, that song and melody. But it was a beautiful jazz arrangement. So it really was a catalyst for me learning jazz music. And it was a no-brainer to reimagine that song and feature it on our latest album.
Okay, since we're talking about that, let's play some of that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Yesterday by Nathan and Noah East on the Jazz Flyte Podcast. Nathan, we go from George Benson to, I don't know. I didn't realize that you play on Kenny Loggins' Footloose. I didn't know you played on Endless Love, Through the Fire. When do you have time And I know you just come back from a European, whatever, you're on tour. How do you find time to do all of these sessions, to do all of these songs? We throw in what you do, and now you've got Noah, who I'm sure might be going, "Hey, Dad, you got time for me? I got a song I want to do. Can we sit down and practice and rehearse?" What? How do you handle that?
You know what? You don't get as much sleep as the normal person. And you fit it in. A lot of times, you'll find me in my studio at 4 o'clock in the morning, 1 a.m. and just getting her done. The flight leaves at 11, and that's the only time I have to get it done before I get out to town or whatever. So I don't mind working, around the clock if I have to. And that's pretty much, of course, music is one of those things, it's work, but then again, like David Foster always says in the studio, he says, "See that button? It says play." So it's something that you love doing. And if you're doing something you really love, it doesn't really matter. You'll do it around the clock. And early days, I can remember, those 20, 28, 4 sessions a day, 7 days a week, and just going from studios to studio. And there's Barry White in one, and then you go see Gene Page. Now there's Phil Collins in another one, and then there's Lionel Richie in another one. There's Dionne Warwick, like just bouncing back. And you couldn't throw a rock in LA without hitting a studio, A&M, Record Plant, Ocean Way, and United. And so they were all like on Sunset Boulevard alone, there were just like, literally dozens of studios.
I just like the way you just name dropped. That's all I'm going to say. That's impressive. And that's not all the names. Noah, do you subscribe to that same work ethic of 24 hours a day, or you're still young? Do you still want to go hang out with the friends and do all that sort of stuff, or like be like your dad? And I can't imagine you being in the studio at 4 a.m. at this point.
Right. Well, no, 100%. The work ethic, I think, has translated over. But it's a new era. Of course, studios are closing down, and that the record business is not what it used to be. So now it's about finding new avenues of putting in that work, and it's definitely translated to a lot of live music and things like that. So just trying to adapt and adapt to the situation, but the work ethic and the mindset stays the same. And it's been a joy now that we have our own project coming along, being in the studio sometimes those late hours and being here jamming till the sun comes up. So whatever the scene is, whether it's playing or in the studio, I think I've inherited a little bit of his DNA in that sense. But no, he's definitely been doing this for a long time, and I'm just trying to learn that work ethic.
With the way the music industry is going, Nathan, you've seen a lot of changes, whether it's technology or just the way the things are. I still marvel at the fact that you all can be in 100 different studios and make one record. I just don't, I cannot necessarily fathom that I think you're missing the interpersonal contact when you can look across the room and see somebody, and if they're hitting the groove, they're giving you a look like, "Hey, keep going, we got this, blah, blah, blah." And no, I don't know for sure, but you come from that. I can't remember who I talked to. They dropping tracks in New York. It goes to LA. Then it went to Germany to go to the Philharmonic Orchestra over there. How do you mesh these technologies together?
Well, that's exactly what has grown since technology has now allowed us to be in rooms around the world, and I have to add to the topic of workload. Noah and his twin sister Sarah recently graduated from University of California, Berkeley. So Cal Berkeley is one of the there's a lot of work that goes in. I don't know if I could graduate from that school,
Mm-hmm.
and also he joined the fraternity Alpha Kappa Psi, Kappa Alpha Psi, and thank you, and just gave the commencement speech address last Sunday to their graduating class, And then I watched him put in the speech together, and while we were actually doing a gig, on the breaks, he was writing the speech. And so I'm thinking, this is the day and age, as it's always been, where a work ethic and a strong work ethic is really imperative to kind of getting things done. And and it's no different now. Sometimes we're on the road and they need a track, so we just find whatever studio's in that town, and lots of albums now are being made that way, where you send the tracks out and somebody's on the other side of the world. I just was in the other night, just before we took a little trip out of town, and the last thing I did was put a bass part on that went to one of my favorite singers in Japan, Kazumasa Oda. And it was a beautiful song, and I remember really wanting it to be good. So I just fussed, and finally about 2-3 in the morning, got her done, came home in time to put the final touches on packing, and then Noah and I went out of town. So it's a great combination of doing something you love, and the clock never stops.
Noah, I hear a lot from both of you, and I don't know if responsibility is the correct word, but it seems at your young age, you have acquired a great degree of responsibility, like your dad said, doing the speech, of playing, of learning, UC Berkeley. Is that learned from him, or is that something you go, I want to do this because I want to be as great as, and I'll leave that blank?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I want to be as great as I can possibly be. And so much of that I learned from him, observing him from a young age, always in and out of town. And whatever the task was, he would always get it done. He would always do what he needed to do, work-wise. And then he would also make time with the family. So I think that was very important, and just really over the years, learning his work ethic and trying to apply that to my life has been huge.
Putting you on the spot, both of you, and I'll start with Noah first. What's the thing you have learned most and needed to learn from your dad?
Let me think about that. Yeah, that's a great question. One of the things I learned the most is definitely time management. It's a huge asset, especially as a musician, when there's so many things coming in. And of course, he's 10 times busier than I am with projects and things coming out. So time management and just being able to, take some time for your own mental health, for rest and to eat, I think it's very important to how he's been able to sustain a long career in the music industry. And I know you said one, but I think another one is persistence. He's been, before he was, with all the big names and had the huge career, he was playing every night, in these small venues, and as we say, on the grind. So it's definitely not easy. And even, for myself, following his footsteps, I still have to carve my own path, and just knowing that it's going to take a grind and persistence every day, not letting up. And I think those are two big ones for me.
Okay. Nathan, what did you feel that you had to instill to Noah to make him continue to be great and to get better?
Well, the first thing that I'm actually picking up from him is his discipline. I mean, he literally goes to the gym every day the sun comes up. He's in the gym. So for me, that's inspiration, because I realize that that's like looking after yourself and this body. And here he is at the tender old age of 24 years old, but if you're going to be around as long as I have, you have to look after yourself. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people that make it to the older ages say, well, I would have taken a lot better care. So I'm glad to see him, doing all those things in the right direction of keeping your temple, that we get this one that we have to look after, and making some really good choices. And I hope that I instilled the value of good choices. I mean, every day there's choices. and you get hundreds, thousands of choices to make. Go left, go right. Should I drink this? Should I not drink this? Should I eat this? Not eat this? So it comes from the moment you wake up to the last thing you do at night. And I think the people that make all the good choices, it reflects in their life.
Okay, Nathan, first of all, I want you to realize that we're probably right around the same age. No, I hate you for going to the gym every day, but I'm trying my best to get there. I really am. Before we can, as we move on, I want to get in one more song. This is Madibo. You know what? I got this CD because I've been a fan of yours. Don't get me wrong. I come from radio. I actually bought this because once you get into radio, you try not to buy anything. But
Right.
I bought this because I was such a fan. This is such a great tune.
Thank you.
This is as I'm on the elliptical machine when I do go to the gym. It never fails. I do this thing called, I try to be on the elliptical for 30 minutes. But whatever the last song is, if it's 2 minutes or whatever goes over, I do it. How come it seems like every time this song's on and it's 8 minutes? So if you're at 29, God, 30, but it makes me feel better. So let's listen to this. This is Nathan and Noah East on the Jazz Flyte Podcast. There are a lot of things, and I think at some point down the line, I will ask for individual interviews because I think you all have so much to offer, and there's so much in the mindset. There's so much with your future coming up. If I had to say what's next, and we'll do this 3 ways, what's next for the both of you? What's next for Nathan? What's next for Noah? What would you tell me?
Well, I'd have to say that my focus is now the duo, and with that, we're just putting this album to bed. So some final overdubs, mixes, mastering, editing, and everything that has to be done so that the album can actually come out. And then beyond that, there are already some tours in the book, some dates. We were already booked in Baden-Baden, Germany next March 13th through 15th at Mr. M's Jazz Club for a residency that went so well this year that thankfully we got invited back to go next year. And we're really looking forward to that. We're going to get on a plane next week to go to Montenegro for the Made in New York Jazz Festival. And that's going to be the 21st through 23rd of June. And then we have some dates in Southern California at the Laguna Festival of Arts, I think mid-August, mid-July. I'm going to sit in with Noah's playing with the Cream of Clapton tribute band. So we have some Southern California dates coming up there and some dates on the East Coast in New York and New Jersey. So already now the book's starting to, fill up very nicely.
You mentioned you got dates booked already for next year. How does that work? How far in advance do you book?
Yeah, it's usually about, there's things in the book now, even, beyond a year that have just sort of just come by way of people knowing that you got to get in early because it starts to fill up, mm-hmm. And thankfully, because in our business, work is a beautiful thing.
Yes.
But we had such a good time in Germany in Baden-Baden for the one I was talking about, Mr. M's Jazz Club, that they booked us for the following year when they were putting us on the plane. By the way,
as you're
What's your
going up the
margin next
stairs,
year look like?
as you're going up the stairs, I want you to check out the calendar for 25. You think you can do this? I don't. And I guess that's one of the things we can chat about maybe later. This schedule that you keep. I know we've tried to get this together for a couple of months now, and you're out of the country. And I will say this: I didn't hear any Cleveland dates on there, so I'm hoping at some point you can stop here.
We love Cleveland too. I
But
mean,
but I saw you at the Palace Theater, I think, too, with Fourplay, and I want to get to that. How how do you do that? How do you schedule that? Noah, what's your workout schedule when you're on the road?
Oh man, when I'm on the road, any time of the day I can get it in. Even if it's 30 minutes in the morning or whatever at the hotel, but that's a must. It keeps my mind on the right track.
Why didn't I do that when I was younger? Oh, why didn't I do that? I just don't know. I would feel so much better.
that's what I'm saying. I'm learning.
And it's funny. It takes sometimes. It takes. I had a tragedy in my life. My mom passed away from Alzheimer's, and
Oh,
my mom went from, and this is even before, she was heavy, and then she's like, I'm going to eat like a bird, and she lost all this weight. So, and to honor her, don't get me wrong, and I will say this so everybody will know, I was 260 when she passed away. I'm now 215
Wow.
with about 10 more that I want to lose. Thank you. But I just
oh.
can't imagine if you're constantly on the road, constantly in a plane, and Noah, I'm jealous of you because where haven't you been? You know what's your favorite? And I know these are a lot of questions. What's your favorite country? What's your favorite place to go to? What's your favorite food? What? How do you live life?
Ooh. No, it's been a huge blessing to be able to travel. That's one of my favorite parts of playing music, and I must say Europe has treated us very well, and Germany, that was one of the most beautiful venues that we played in as a duo. So it's just been a blessing to be able to travel the world and experience new cultures. So
Yeah, they just came to Paris and London. The family came, my wife and his sister Sarah, and we were all in London and hanging out and riding bikes and in Paris, and it was fantastic.
I'm gonna say this, and I'm willing to bet a whole bunch of listeners would say the same thing. You need any more children? I'd volunteer. I would.
Come on.
Hey, I can't play an instrument, but I could bring you on stage. I can announce it. I could be your MC. I
We
can
need
do
that.
that, and then sit off on the
Let's
side.
go.
I don't know if I'm going to get up as early as Noah to go work out, but I'd give it my best effort. Um, you got a lot of stuff going on. How can our listeners follow you all?
Well, we're both on Instagram under our names, Facebook, all those kind of social media, Twitter, and also at Spotify. I think it's under Nathan East. That our two. We released a single in December, My Favorite Things, which came out over the holidays, and our good friend Sandy Shore over at smoothjazz.com global had the great idea about, hey, Favorite Things is the perfect song for the holidays, so we put that out. It's on Spotify again, Nathan and Noah East, and so we are just kind of now, all those places. Pretty soon we'll have our YouTube set up. My website, nathaneast.com, has some of the tour dates on it, and so there's a few ways to keep up with what we're doing.
Oh, we gonna keep up. We gonna keep up. Whatever you put out, whatever you release, let us know. We will do our part to make sure that our masses have the ability to see it. Noah, good luck. I'd say you got a really good teacher, and I think if you hang out with him for a little while, I think you'll be very, very successful.
I got a great teacher.
Yeah,
Got a
Nathan,
great son here.
it's good. Fatherly advice for him, or for not just Noah, but for any young person out there listening. What do you got to tell him?
Well, I feel like as a parent, and I'd love to see our dads really get as much involved, because I mean, if we're going to father these children, then we got to take it to the next level, stay in there, hang in there through all the games and education and all those things are important to me. And one of my biggest challenges, but one of the things I've enjoyed the most is finding the balance between working and, being the breadwinner for the family, but then actually being there with them and enjoying these opportunities. So when I looked up on my schedule and saw that I was going to be gone for the month of May, and their birthday is May 11th. So and Mother's Day was May 12th. So I thought, you know what? Where am I going to be? I'm going to be in London and Paris those days. So if I can't be there to celebrate the birthdays, bring them. Nice. And that's exactly what we did, and so all these years, I've enjoyed the challenge of not missing a birthday, not missing the sports event and the graduations and all the really important things. And just as simple as sitting down as a family and having a meal together. These are all the things that we cherish and value. And we have a little rule at the table, no iPhones at the dinner table. Yeah. And because no use everybody sitting there,
yes,
rolling and going through. So we make an effort to try to really solidify the family, which is one of the things I think in general in our country and our culture is that we can really work on is really just making that family unit as strong as possible.
This is a hell of a pair. You are, Nathan, I really think that you're lucky. I have enjoyed your father's music for many, many years.
Thank you.
This collaboration that you two have, I look very forward to it. I'm going to ask a question. Somebody wrote me a note and says, ask him about Fourplay. So I'm going to do that.
Thank you.
Did you just tip me off by shaking your head? Is there another Fourplay record in the midst? Is there a possibility, or has it run its game?
Yes, there is a possibility. Yes, all of the above. As everybody knows, our guitarist Chuck Loeb, our beloved collaborator and dear friend, and one of the finest human beings. We actually are born within hours of each other and within miles of each other on the East Coast, Philadelphia, me and him in New York. And when he passed away, it put a big hole in our heart, and so we weren't able to just jump back and act like nothing had happened, So these years that have gone by have been a chance to really, just reflect and honor him. He's written songs for both of my albums, 7/8 for the first one, 11/8 for the second, for the Reverence album, and continues to be, an inspiration just from the other side, and we will eventually, Bob James and Harvey Mason and I, we talk and communicate all the time, and at some point, don't be surprised if you see another Fourplay album and tour and a reunion.
And maybe Bob will have an assistant piano player. Can't imagine who I might be talking about, but once again, another idea by Darrell. All right, guys.
You're full of ideas. I love them. I love them.
Hey, Pamela Williams, saxophonist out of Detroit. No, she's in LA. So we were talking. I interviewed her for the show. She says, I got an idea for a new song. I said, well, if you need somebody to critique it, I'm willing to take that role on it. Wouldn't be you play it, I listen to it, and I tell you what I think. If you guys want to do the same thing, you got my email address and everything. Just let me know.
Thank you for that. Yeah, and we, because you never know. We sit in here and play and kind of come up with what we're going to come up with, but we never know how it's going to be received until we put it out there.
I'm more than willing to offer my assistance to whatever hit records you wish to make. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to the Jazz Flyte Podcast with two wonderful musicians, and they happen to be father and son. So once again, Nathan, happy Father's Day. Hope everything works fine for you. Noah, good luck with this budding career, which I'm sure will blossom into a fine flower. And we go from there. Like I said, whatever we can do to help promote your music and everything, that's fine. And I still want to perhaps reserve the right to have you on individually, because there's so much. If I showed you this list I have of questions in front of me and how many I didn't answer, it's just because of the things that you say. And I just think that I, you have so much talent, so much talent. And I'm interested to see what you do. And I think that's the other thing. When you look at certain people, you wonder, what can they do next? You know, what? And then you hear it and you go, okay, he still got it. So I appreciate it very much. We'll stay in touch.
And by the way,
yeah.
First of all, Marcus and Stanley, if you're listening, come on, let's
dude. Hey, we'll work on that. Marcus is coming to town at the end of the month. It is. I thought you were busy. He's worse. I've tried for 6 months to try to get to him. And the next thing you know, he's doing this, he's touring this, and blah, blah, blah. So,
but movie scores and all, he's the GOAT. But happy Father's Day to everybody. We really appreciate the opportunity to be here on this day, and stay blessed, everybody.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you for listening to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. Thank you for tuning in to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. I hope you enjoy these stories and soulful melodies that grew through the doors of time. If you want to stay connected with the latest updates and episodes, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. Until next time, I'm Darrell Scott.